I used to hate cats, used to be dogs all the way, till a cat came along, changed my tune. Now I say I prefer cats to people, and cats seem to prefer me too.
Hello there, cat people. Dan the Catman here, along with Michelle the Meow Maven. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, guys.
Stephen Quandt, Mr. Producer, our executive producer,
Hey
and
everybody.
cat behavior expert from catbehaviorhelp.com. And welcome to episode 72 of the Shelter Cats podcast, the podcast created by Shelter Cats. And joining us today is Andrey Grigoryev from catamazing.com and Brook Fountain. Brookfountain.com?
Brook Fountains, yep.
Brookfountains.com. Very excited. I'm very excited to talk about your products. Before we start our interview, we have two pieces of business to take care of. The Shelter Cats podcast is sponsored by, well, us actually. We have a website now, sheltercatspod.com. That's sheltercatspod.com, where you can get all the links to all the platforms we're on. You could watch the YouTubes of our episodes. You could learn about Team Shelter Cats podcast, including our editor who's shy and never wants to be on camera, our editor Jake. And we have merch, right, Michelle? We have merch.
That's right. We sure do.
Michelle designed the website and she designed all the merch. We have hats, t-shirts, we have name tags, we have stickers, we have plush, a lion cub, a bear cub, we have bugs. What am I missing? We have all kinds of merch with our logo on it. So go to sheltercatspod.com and Michelle, all yours.
The Shelter Cats podcast has joined the Chewy Shelter and Rescue Affiliate Program. Chewy's mission is to be the most trusted and convenient online destination for pet parents and partners everywhere. Chewy is passionate about supporting animals and making a positive impact in communities across the country. Local shelters and rescues oftentimes serve as a first home or provide continued support to pets. That's why Chewy is committed to supporting organizations that benefit the overall health, safety, and well-being of shelter and rescue animals. Please click the link in the podcast description, click the link on our logo on our website. You'll not only be helping your local shelter, you'll also help support our podcast. Thanks, Chewy.
Andrey is the founder and CEO, or Cat Entertainment Officer, I love that title, of Cat Amazing, which specializes in enrichment for indoor cats and was featured on ABC's Shark Tank. More recently, Andrey is also the founder of Brook Fountains, the first all-glass cat water fountain, very impressive, the most hygienic and functional hydration station for thirsty felines. Andrey has collaborated with the NYC ACC to create specialized toys that go into each of the kennels that provide enrichments for cats awaiting adoption. And two of his own cats came from ACC. Andrey, we're finally done with our intro. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So, you're our first product, someone who's manufactured products. Can you tell me how you personally got into what made you want to go into starting Cat Amazing and manufacturing products for cats?
Yeah, it's a interesting question. It's kind of two levels to that question, I suppose, is how did the first product come about, and then how did the business come about? As far as the product, actually an easy one to answer. It was actually invented by my first cat. I had our first cat we adopted. That was one of the ones that came from ACC. His name is Mookie. And we adopted him when my wife and I, my girlfriend at the time, first moved into our apartment together. And it was like a tiny studio apartment, about 300 square feet. And we got this cat. He was very, very smart, and very playful. And he was kind of going out of his mind, bored with the limited space we had. Um, so one day I noticed we had this little folding book stand that would kind of hold the book upright when you read it. And if it collapsed down, there's nowhere to put it. So I put it down on the floor. And one day I noticed him bringing this little red ball that he had into the book stand, batting it around, trying to get it out, getting it out. It kind of roll away. He'd grab it, bring it back, throw it back in, and he'd do the same thing. Um, I kind of
Mhm.
look at this. I was like, well, that's cool. I mean, I can make you something a little bit more complicated if you're liking that. So, I took an Amazon box and a box cutter and kind of made a little box with holes. He played with that, made it a little bit more complicated. Um, and eventually, I thought, let me just go buy you something cool that you can play with. So I went on Amazon, as one does, and did just search for cat puzzles of this type, and there was very little, and what little there was less complicated than what I already made. And that's kind of I realized, yeah, there's nothing to buy. Like it was more advanced, it would keep them more engaged. So that's kind of how the puzzle was born. What possessed me to actually make it into a business is a more interesting question. I was actually reflecting on that recently, 15 years down the road. Like, what was my thought process? Um, it really came to the conclusion there really was no thought process. I'm not, thought is just
That's fair.
not, not something I apply to life in general, it seems. But yeah, especially back at the time. I mean, I think realistically speaking, it was kind of at a time in my life where I wasn't particularly just happy with my job. I just kind of gotten out of college. I was working for an advertising agency for, primarily for big pharma clients, doing some digital marketing for them. Wasn't too thrilled. So I think I was just kind of looking for a project or just looking for something to do. And I figured, something between like a hobby and something that might potentially, be a business. Um, and yeah, I think at the same time I also had this kind of like sort of bit of an abuse relationship with a certain smokable plant at the time. And I don't know if you've ever
Fair.
had this experience, but when you're under the influence, you can get some really brilliant ideas, some really great ideas. And then when you come down, you're kind of like, wow, well, that was a crazy idea. Here's why it won't work for XYZ reasons. Um, but if you never come down, you never have those realizations. And so you might find yourself 3 years later driving a U-Haul to the Port of Elizabeth to pick up pallets of cat toys at the warehouse, and, shouldering your way past all the professional truckers to get with my little half filled out paperwork to try to figure out where they are. So that's kind of how the business was born. Um, and I mean, it was kind of like a parallel project to my full-time sort of career in tech marketing. So it was very like it was just something I worked on as sort of like a hobby. I mean, it was really kind of like a hobby business. I thought, what's one way of measuring success, I suppose, is like if it can actually like become like something that other people want, and if it's a it's sort of sustainable, like a business, yeah, kind of like I always at it like working with Legos. I mean, in some set, like just adult Legos.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
like building a small business, yeah.
Um, can you talk about Shark Tank and how that came about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Shark Tank is something I think that I've heard a lot. Where I would tell people like, "Oh, I have a cat toy company." And people would be like, "Oh my God, you should be on Shark Tank." And I kind of just like because it's kind of ridiculous. Just this guy with like this like cardboard puzzle cat toy company. And I use the word company very loosely here. It was just me and like a hodgepodge happened together website that I had. Um, and I kind of like I always kind of just dismissed it. I mean, didn't consider this as a thing. I mean, although I've heard it like from everybody who hear about it, like they're just like, "Oh my God, you should be on Shark Tank." Um, and then one day, I don't know, I just think I just decided to just apply. Like I don't know, it really drifted in front of my the consciousness while I was at the computer. And I just thought, like, what would it take? What does it take to apply? And I just assumed there'd be like some massive application, you have to do all this kind of stuff. But I just went on their website and it was just like the form was like it was like your name and like two sentences about your business. And I
Wow.
thought, well, I
Wow.
can do that. That I can do. So I did. And I did like forgot about it immediately. I was like, oh, whatever. And it was like 6 months down the line, I got a call from somebody who was like, "Oh, we're from Shark Tank. Like, we got your application. I'd be curious to do." And there's a whole like kind of there's a whole process I'm under, like very strict NDAs, not to reveal the process. But it's kind of I'm sure you can imagine. It's kind of there's
Auditions, I would imagine.
auditions, exactly. Like, yeah, auditions and kind of yeah qualifications and all kinds of different things. Um, so yeah, that was obviously yeah, that was a very involved process. But I figure once you get started, there's no going back. So yeah, that was the whole thing was a very very kind of, I guess, stressful experience, I would say. Just it was kind of in the middle of COVID as well. So
Oh, well.
they I think normally it was a much more like I would imagine it's probably more of a relaxed time when they fly you out, you stay for a little bit longer and whatnot. But there was kind of like very quick in and out. A lot of like COVID testing was like very yeah, very controlled. And yeah, it was very interesting, very stressful experience. I mean, the show is one thing I definitely say about the show is it's very honest. Like what you see is kind of what you get. It's there's like I think for a lot of reality TV, there's obviously a lot of kind of trickery and all the kind of like staging behind the scenes and all this stuff. Not in this case. So very like what you see when you watch the show is kind of what exactly what you get. Mhm.
So, Andre, I have to ask you, did you reach an agreement with Shark Tank? Did one of them, did you give your business, part of your business to one of those people, or did you not reach an agreement?
Yeah, so on air we reached an agreement, and yeah, in preparation for the show, it was kind of like I watched some of the episodes, and I was like, all right, I have to remember all my numbers. I can't have like a no answer for anything. I have to know what my projections are, what my business costs, how much everything costs. I memorized all this stuff. Um, I never got to actually thinking about like what I would actually accept, like so like I never got that far. And so when they started making offers on air, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't think about like what would happen. Like I kind of like I put out like a number that would, that I went to the show with. But then they started giving me kind of different offers. So I had to really think on the spot. I was just doing like running the numbers in my head. I was like, I don't think I didn't thought this far ahead. I didn't think I would get any offers. So I agreed to an offer with Lori Grenier, who is actually she invested in quite a few of the cat brands on Shark Tank. So I was pleasantly surprised with that. But it's fairly normal afterwards for there to be negotiations. So like once actually
Yeah.
again, this is their first time seeing anything about your business. Like I said, the show is very honest. So you can go up to there like and make up all kinds of stuff, right? Yeah, what I presented was like completely honest and sincere. But afterwards, they kind of do negotiations and they review all the numbers, they check the projections. So what they agree to then afterwards gets revised. And so we kind of negotiate a bit back and forth. So in the end, we just both decided it wasn't what we wanted.
Hmm.
So we kind of separated. It was very amicable. Like it was they're a great team to work with. Like they recommended us for airing, and yeah, so reached an agreement on air. It's pretty normal for them not to like follow up afterwards, and that's kind of what happened to us. Yeah, we'll follow through.
It's actually
So,
good to hear such great feedback on a show like that because, like, you're right. A lot of those reality shows barely scratch the surface of what actually happens behind the scenes, and to hear that it kind of, was pretty much representative. That's refreshing.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm.
Andre, do you remember how we actually kind of virtually met? Because I do. I think
Oh,
I
cool.
do.
Yeah. It's funny. I was revisiting that recently as well. I think actually the first thing I recall, and tell me if I'm getting this wrong, you reached out to me just asking if there was a video that was
Yeah,
like on the
I've
Amazon listing.
I've
Yeah.
been recommending your puzzle feeders to clients of mine because my clients their cats love these puzzle feeders. I've had cats who get so exhausted using them they just fall asleep next to them when they're done. And the video on Amazon disappeared, so I reached out, contacted, and said, "Hey, where's the video?"
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
was the beginning of that.
Yeah, that's right. And you kind of mentioned like you recommended to clients. And I was like, clients. So I looked at your email signature and I was like, oh, cat behaviors. I mean, it is very interesting because it's like, I actually up to that point, I think I thought like there's no higher praise you can get as a cat toy company than from get like recommendation from a veterinarian. And then I was like, oh, cat behaviorist. This is even higher. Like I'd never heard of such a thing.
And there came a time, the way I remember it, and you can correct me if you know it, remember it slightly differently, but we were in touch. You wanted to donate a bunch of toys to ACC, to animal care centers. You had a surplus of a certain type, including, I think, a cat toy with a magnet that has a very, well, just let, it has a name. We'll have to
Mhm.
mention it. And
I was going to
uh,
mention it.
yeah, I'll let you mention it, Dan.
What's the
Uh,
problem with the name? I don't understand.
Um, It's called the snatch it.
It's the Cat Amazing Snatch magnetic
The
wand toy.
cat
Oh,
amazing. That, yeah.
And I actually had to ask Andre at one point, thinking that he's Russian, maybe something was lost in translation, how he came up with the name. And what did you tell me, Andre?
I had a collaborator at the time who was yeah, his name is Daniel. He was very we were batting a bunch of names around. I was thinking like Magna Wand or Magna Catcher or something, whatever it was. And I can't remember. I think it might have been just the very first like opening days of ChatGPT. So we ran through numbers through there. I think somehow the word snatch just came in there, like snatching wand or something like that. And he really liked like edgy sort of like humor. And he was like, that's it. That's what we're doing. So
So we're
And
really
it's a,
blaming ChatGPT for this name.
yeah, ChatGPT and Daniel are to blame. Yeah, I take no responsibility whatsoever in this.
and
I
it's an
love it.
interesting
There's no
toy.
problems with it at
It,
all.
it it has a magnet. The feather attaches to the string by a magnet, and it allows the cat to actually pull the feather off the feather wand, which gives, in my opinion, right, as a behaviorist, extra satisfaction to the cat because they've managed to really kill it, right? They take it away, and I use it. By the way, Andre, my cat Cricket uses it every day.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's awesome to hear. I mean, yeah, the magnetic one, yeah, that was the like always had in mind that like an idea to do something where the cat can actually catch the prey. Because like obviously like the lowest rung of the ladder on that is a laser pointer, which is like impossible to catch. And then you got kind of all kinds of like string on a stick and all those things, which are all great. But obviously like the cat wants to catch it and like run under the couch with it. Which they have to let go of the whole wand for them to do that. So yeah. Mhm.
So, in a plug for what you've done for ACC, for Animal Care Centers of New York, you at one point approached me and said you had all these surplus toys you wanted to give to us. And somehow we started having a conversation about creating a special type of toy that would be inside a standard kennel. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because it turns out, a huge thing. All of our shelters in New York City now use this.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember that. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, when I talked to you about donating some of the, I think it was actually the attachments for that magnetic toy, and I've had a few, some extras. And we just kind of, yeah, we got talking, and you explained how like the toys for kennels, specifically for this shelter application, like it had all these constraints, and some of the stuff you don't think of because you think like there are like millions of cat toys out there. Surely you can find something for a cat to play with. But you said like like, it's very different for that application. So like all these things like it had to be easy to sanitize. It had to be something that doesn't, get into their food dish or their water dish or their toilet, which are all kind of right there in a kennel. It had to be something that is also really inexpensive because anything you can't sanitize and reuse kind of easily gets discarded for the next cat or goes home with them. So I got a ton of these constraints, and the more you explain it, the more like this is actually like a lot more challenging than you would think. And yeah, I think yeah, I don't recall if you actually you thought I would take it on as an assignment. Because I think we were just kind of just we were just talking, but I guess I sort of did. And yeah, we you and I prototyped quite a few of those together. 'Cause, yeah, I had no knowledge whatsoever of the kennels. I had some idea of like toy manufacturing ideas. 'Cause I had like, a ton of ideas already, like in the notebook, and so I figured maybe something would work here. Um, but yeah, I remember we prototyped y- quite a lot of them. I remember first we were talking about attaching something with a magnet to the kennels because I was had magnets in my mind from from developing that other toy. So it's like, oh, this is gonna be a brilliant idea. We'll just stick a magnet. We'll do a hook on and whatever. And then you came and gave me the great news that like the kennels were not magnetic. So I don't know what kind of metal they use,
Right.
but there was no it's just not an option. So yeah, we went through quite a few designs before we came up with what we did, and it ended up being a pretty good success, I think. What would you say?
Well, yeah, and the beauty of what we did, which has enriched the lives of so many of our cats at the shelter, we tried suction cups. We ended up with a sticky hook that fastens to the roof of the kennel. And from that, there's essentially a bungee cord, so a springy thing. We called it the bouncy bouncy, right? And And the springy part, the bouncy part, would then attach to a toy or a feather or something like that, and it would hang in the kennel. Wouldn't get in the food bowl, wouldn't get in the water bowl, and the cat could get at it from any part of uh, the kennel, and we could sanitize the important parts of it. The feather itself would go home with the cat. And there's video of this, including instructions on how to make this for your shelter, if there are shelters watching or listening to this. And we'll put a link to your blog, right, Dan, where we can, all those instructions and the video will be there. But it's been a great contribution to ACC.
Cool, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think one of the biggest breakthrough was using those little spiral bracelets that I think they made it called like keychains, or like they kind of like an old school telephone cord. They kind of like they expanded, but they would come right back. And they have a little carabiner at the end, so everything was kind of perfect. And you can get them; they're extremely cheap. So like that was one of the key things, was making sure this was like as cheap as possible. You can come up with a lot of cool stuff. If you need custom parts, or you need to get something specialized, it becomes very expensive. You have hundreds of kennels. So yeah, this was like, you can, they're like well under $1 a piece, and they extend so the cat can really get a lot of activity. They can get a lot of movement in, but it doesn't. It always retracts back to the same position. Yeah, then that was really cool. And the whole thing was modular too, so it can become shorter or longer depending on how you hang it. 'Cause some of the kennels are taller, some of them are shorter. And the attachments can be like, you can use a long attachment, short attachment. I think even for some of them, you used the magnetic bits that I sent you as well. So for some of the bigger kennels, where like the getting the attachment into the food bowl or the bathroom wasn't as big of a concern, they can actually, you have that magnetic bit at the end, so they can actually tear it off, play with it, and you kind of, the volunteer will put it right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we open source the design completely. So we do have instruction. We have a pretty detailed blog post with kind of animations showing you how it all works, and links to all the different parts. So yeah, if you're with a shelter, volunteer at a shelter, very easy to make, very inexpensive, and really gives a lot of activity to a cat in a confined space.
And some cats actually are able to pull the toy off. I've watched them just yank it off, and then we have to hook it back on. But really successful. All the other toys, they just sit on the floor of the kennel. And some cats, they like that, but oftentimes it just sits there.
Hmm.
We'll have the link to your blog, obviously your website, your blog, everything on our website. One thing that I want to ask about is, can you maybe talk about one or two of the products, or one of the toys, and what goes into the design of them? I'm very curious about how that works with Cat Amazing, how you all go about designing, brainstorming, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so there's really like two sort of product lines, I guess you can call it, with Cat Amazing. The first one is the puzzles. So there's that original puzzle that Mookie came up with, and then afterwards, there a few that became more and more complicated, more and more elaborate. So there was one, we kind of basically wanted to increase the challenge, and we wanted to variegate the challenge. So to increase the challenge, one obvious way is to just make the puzzle bigger with more nooks and crannies and more dividers inside. Um, but we also wanted to add a little bit of dynamic movement, because like if it's the same exact thing every time, it gets pretty, they figure it out pretty quickly. You get bored
Yeah.
with it. So we have a couple of puzzles with moving parts inside. So it's boxes within boxes. And those kind of like are a bit more evergreen. So as they play, they're pulling out a treat, but they're also moving a little piece of the box inside. So it's changing the maze every time. And then there's one where there's little things we call fumblers inside, and they're kind of like little roly toys. They kind of tumble in different ways, and they also just kind of they close some of the holes, open some of the holes, and so the treats are falling through. They're hard to reach from one area, so the cat has to really walk around the puzzle. The goal is to give them as much activity as possible, because it's like a mental challenge, but also a bit of a physical challenge. So with
Right.
the bigger ones, they really have to walk around the puzzle. They can jump on top of it, kind of pull the treats out from that way. Yeah, so it's yeah, designing those actually is really interesting. I've really spent like hours in sort of a meditative state, like really like spinning these things around in my head, and kind of just thinking like, oh, it has like every part of the puzzle has to be accessible from all angles. I guess it can't be any place where the tree kind of gets stuck and you can't get to it. So it has to be all accessible, but it can't be all too easy. And then there was like the constraints of how to actually like package the product because these are pieces of cardboard that get stamped like a giant like cardboard stamping machine. The factory that makes this actually specializes in like cardboard displays and like large cardboard packaging. So they have to it has to be something that folds down into dimensions that are actually shippable. So,
Right.
so the customer has to assemble it, so and make the assembly as simple as possible, while at this end and resulting in this like puzzle that works in all those different ways. And then one of the things that it wasn't really strictly speaking necessary, but I really wanted to like have it look cool. Like I just wanted to be something nice inside the house. So like the artwork on it was kind of important to me. And it took me a long time to find an artist. Like I found this great artist who just is amazing at like sort of like simple digital drawing.
Hmm.
And all of them just they have these like really whimsical designs. They have different themes. I think one is like hamsters in a cage. They kind of like the cats hunting little rodents. The other one's like a fish tank. And yes, and oh, the other one was like insects, I think. Yeah. So it was. I would really want it to be something that's not an eyesore. I think a lot of toys are kind of like you just kind of push them off to the side in the corner of the room and for the cat. But I really
Absolutely.
wanted it to be
Absolutely.
something front and center. Yeah.
I think they're a blast. I had so much fun putting the hex. It's called the hex, right?
The hex. Yeah.
Yeah, the hex, which is a big one. We use it in our free roaming room at ACC, which is where cats cohabitate. And so it just sits there and they love it. They just go after it. And if we need to do a deep clean of the room, then we toss it out. We bring a new one in. But
Hmm.
they're great.
Yeah, they're kind of designed to be like semi-disposable in a sense. I mean, because they are cardboard. But the upside of it is that they when they do hit the landfill finally, they're kind of they don't there's no real impact. I mean, they're completely biodegradable. You have no plastics in it whatsoever. And I guess the other product line, the later one was the Snatch magnetic wand. And the design for that one, actually, that was a much more complicated product because the first products I've ever done, like they're all cardboard. So I kind of sort of mastered that to whatever degree possible. But this one involved, we're talking about aluminum, plastic, custom plastic parts, string. It was like a much more, it really they pushed me out of my comfort zone completely. And the way I manufactured those actually initially was using 3D printing. So I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure it must have been one of the first, if not the first, like semi like large scale product that was made through 3D printing. Like the actual production was made through 3D printing. Um,
Interesting.
so yeah, so there's actually those magnetic like little fobs where the one at the end of the wand, the other one of the toy, they connect. Um, they have like a magnet inside of them. So for those. I would start the 3D print for the fob. When it got to a certain place, I would pop a magnet in there and then finish the print. So the magnet was completely encased
Oh,
inside the plastic.
very cool.
And then I'd be doing this like an array. So obviously we're doing them one at a time. So you'd have an array of like about 100 on a tray, printing at once. And I had at one point 3D printers running at the same time, 24/7, like printing these things
Wow.
because you
Wow.
have to basically be the fob because for every wand there would be at least three of those fobs. Plus the wand also had this like this cord management system because one of the things that annoyed me completely always about wands like the cord gets always tangled up and
Always.
storing it is a mess. And the wand is retractable, so it was also really important. So once it collapsed, like what are you gonna do with the cord? And so I came up with a system of kind of wrapping it around the handle, but that also involved custom plastic parts. So I printed all of those. So in the end, I ended up printing over 100,000 parts for the first production run for just 5,000 wands and the attachment packs. It was one of the most insane things I'd ever done. I completely advise anybody not to do that. So this is learn from the mistakes of others. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, for a whole host of reasons, including having seven printers running in your bedroom at one time. Yeah. Yeah.
I
But yeah,
wanted
but
to
now
ask
now
you.
they're all I was saying that now they're all produced on the proper factory with injection molding and the
Oh,
proper way. Yeah, yeah. So go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
that's okay. Yeah, no, first of all, I can't imagine how long that must have taken because 3D printers are not fast. So
No,
just
yeah,
the
about six
time.
months of continuous printing. Yeah.
Oh my God,
Oh my God.
that's a lot of printing. But no, I wanted to ask you, I wanted to talk about the fountain. I know, Dan brought it up before, but I'm sitting here staring at it. It's on my computer behind
Mm.
my camera, and it really, you want to talk about looking attractive in the home. It's like a beautiful structure. It's like a piece of art. Like even if it wasn't just the cat fountain, it's a beautiful little piece of art that's there. So, can you talk a little bit about how that came to be and the process of developing that? And I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
for
lovely.
sure. Well, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's funny. Like that's a lot of feedback I get. That's actually my mom when she first saw it, she was like, "Oh, it looks like a piece of art." It wasn't like the intention at all. The intention was kind of functionality, but I guess yeah, it came out looking pretty cool. I think it's just the effect of like water and glass, and it's just kind of like on its own. Yeah, I think for that product, I mean, yeah, that story is actually really straightforward. It's probably the most like organic product development you can conceive of. I personally had gone through a ton of cat fountains. 'Cause it's really it's one of the most like important things you can get for a cat because hydration is critical for a cat and like indoor cats are chronically dehydrated. I think that you kind of we're alluding to that as well with as far as hydration. And I for a long time I had a ceramic fountain, and it was okay, but it was kind of this handmade thing. And it was very cool looking, but it was extremely difficult to clean.
Mhm.
And it was also you couldn't really tell like the quality of the water, like how dirty the water was because it was like a brown ceramic.
Oh,
And so I had tried plastic, which I kind of discarded pretty quickly because you can tell the thing basically would smell like
yeah.
it was a very textured material.
Yeah, they just get
But
disgusting.
they get gross pretty quickly. Yeah, what I did like about the plastic was that it was clear, like I could see the water quality. So I was like, I like that. And then I tried stainless steel, and again, it was okay, but the you couldn't see the water inside. It was kind of like encased, and I had read quite a bit of like stainless steel, like coming out of China is fairly questionable. Like at times, like sometimes it's great, sometimes not, but you're not quite ever sure. And there were stories of like the cat would like lick the same spot in the fountain, and it would lick through to something else, like
Oh,
which shouldn't be happening.
Oh wow.
So it's
wow.
like because the tongues are they're very rough, so it's like sandpapering the same spot over and over again. And so like one day I thought, okay, I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, I know what I really need. Like that would kind of combine the best of all the worlds. I need a glass cat fountain. And so I went on Amazon and typed in glass cat fountain. I really wish I had a screen recording of this because it's not there. They can't do it anymore. But nothing came up. There was like nothing. It would be complete. Like it was zero. Like I think I don't know if there were ads for it. For like ads even under those search terms. Because like you just come and get ceramic, plastic, stainless steel. There's nothing but glass. And then I searched the wider internet, and there was just like a few handmade pieces on Etsy. Like somebody would just kind of like handmade something. It was very elaborate, expensive, and again, it was difficult to clean. The kind of like the way it was a custom. It was an art piece. It was designed to be like an art piece, but also like it's dubbing as a cat fountain. And that's kind of where the idea came from. I was like, well, this is clearly something that like if I want, others would want it. And actually, I remember also like running. Like, I thought, like, had anybody thought in this direction, really? So I typed into Amazon like cat fountain G, there's a letter G, and I thought, like, would it autofill glass? And it did. It said cat fountain glass. So I was like, I'm not the first person to search for this. People are like, there are people who are interested in this. Um,
Right.
Interesting.
yeah, and that's kind of how it was born. Went through quite a few prototypes for that one as well. Again, this one's like completely like beyond my comfort zone, even past like well past what the ones had done because like I don't know how much you guys know about glass. Like I don't know anything about glass. Yeah, like I drink out of a glass. That's it. I
I
know how to
drink out of
spell
them.
it. Yeah, exactly. So I knew nothing whatsoever about glass manufacture. So I had to, yeah, basically start off from scratch with that material. So at this point, I've been working with like an engineer, I have a great engineer. Kostya, he's in Ukraine, and he's just kind of like just really like also like willing to learn, willing to push the boundaries. I kind of explained to him like what I was like sort of like generally looking for, what I was thinking about. Like we talked about some different shapes. We actually ended up 3D printing the first bunch just to see how the water would flow, like what would happen, with how the pump would fit and all that stuff. And then yeah, just started from scratch again, looking for a supplier who would work with me with glass. Which actually is it's not that easy to find because most of them will they're either like very like individual artisans, and they can't do like they won't be able to do mass production, or they're like somebody who's stamping out like a billion bottles of Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
and they're not interested in you, and they have like a like very specific like machinery that they use. So it was actually tough to find someone who like would was like somewhere right in the middle who would also like take a chance on somebody with the crazy ideas. So.
Can I
Yeah,
just
so that's kind of how
mention
that came about.
the two biggest problems with fountains and how your fountain addresses those two problems? One is cleaning, and the other is noise. And cleaning is a big issue because a lot of fountains have all these like nooks and crannies, and you're trying to get in there with brushes, and all the green, algae starts to collect. And I tried lots of different fountains, and I'm sitting there in the kitchen trying to clean them. It drives me crazy. This fountain has no nooks and crannies. It's just a beautiful, heavy bowl that with a completely smooth interior surface, and the couple parts that it has, the dome and the tube that goes through it, also not only are they completely smooth, you also supply brushes for them to actually get into that tube in a really lovely way. So I discovered that it's super cleanable, dishwasher safe. Yeah, it's almost as if I own part of the company, like I'm touting it, right? Um, and it's also super quiet. So it addressed all of my concerns, and it lets you see the water. So if the water starts to look dirty, you can at least see it.
Yeah, I think that's a huge key. As like I said, that's that's really the only advantage of a plastic fountain is that they can be made clear, which kind of you get with glass without any of the downside. But yeah, I think that's also one of the big advantages of glass is that I'm pretty sure it's the only one you can really properly put into the dishwasher.
Mm.
I mean, you can put stainless steel in the dishwasher, but a lot of times you have like the plastic bits integrated, so like the holder for the pump and the clip. So you really can't put it in the dishwasher. And plastic is really not a good idea to put in the dishwasher for a variety of reasons, including it absorbing the smell, which is like the cat won't drink out of it because they have very sensitive noses, and it can also deform from the heat. So yeah, the cool thing about glass is that pretty much all the parts are dishwasher safe. So the pumps on suction cups, you just comes right out, everything goes in the dishwasher. And if you don't want to use a dishwasher, like I personally don't, I just kind of just wash it by hand. It's just really quick. Yeah, like you said,
So
there
easy.
are no nooks and crannies. It's all smooth. There's really nowhere that's hard to reach. The only tricky part is the pump. Um, but that's kind of the case for all fountains, right? There's really like you need a pump. And that's a problem that's not been solved.
I
Yeah,
thought it
so
was a pretty easy pump to clean, actually. I've cleaned a bunch of pumps,
yeah, for
and
sure.
I
It's
and I
it's
thought
it's
it was an easy pump.
That is
it's,
the
it's
biggest issue is the pump. The pumps will stop working even after you clean it. Literally, before we did this recording, we're recording this on a Thursday. Thursday is my night. Every Thursday, I wash out my fountains. I have six of them. They're various plastic fountains. And every Thursday, I wash them out because, like I said, half of them use them to rinse their paws, to rinse their ass. I mean, I don't know what half of some of them, my one cat will walk out of his way because he prefers the fountain I have in my office and recording studio. So he'll walk past other fountains to go to the specific fountain, even though it's exactly like the other fountains that he just walked past. I don't understand it. Maybe Stephen could explain that one. But every Thursday I wash them out, and the pumps, the hair is clogged in the propeller for the pump. And half the time, even after you clean them, the pumps will freeze. They don't start. You have to start over again. I agree with you. The pump is very, very it's like some basic fish tank pump thing, and it's just very frustrating. So I
yeah,
agree with you.
it's a kind of like I think it's an industry-wide gap in solution, really. We're hoping one day, down the line, if the company keeps going well, to tackle that problem because that's like a big problem to solve. Yeah, the pump we use actually like used very commonly in sort of premium fountains, so it's a very commonly available pump. And it's sort of been designed to be like as easy to clean as you can get with these things, which is probably why Steven found it like relatively easy to clean to others. One good way of cleaning them actually is just to soak the whole thing in vinegar. You just take the whole thing, you can dunk the whole thing in vinegar, and you can even run it in vinegar for a little bit. Like 20
Interesting.
minutes, you run it in vinegar. It like really dissolves a lot of that biofilm, that slime buildup, and gets to the areas that are hard to clean. Um, so that's like I think, but in general, yeah, they do have little nooks and crannies and things
Y-
for sure.
Andre, you know a thing that also makes that fountain easier to clean? I'm thinking about it, and I look back on it. I've worked with fountains, Dan, maybe you have this experience as well, where the pump is connected to parts of the fountain where it's like snaps into place, and it's got this thing and the wire goes around it, and it's the disassembly it's a pain in the butt. And this just
Yes.
literally suctions to the bottom of this beautiful glass bowl, and all you do is pop out the impeller or the propeller, and you're done. You clean it and you're done.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's yeah, as I said, that's the pump that's used in a lot of the common fountains, and most of them, like you said, have a bracket. So it's stainless steel with a little bracket that pump clips into, and it is kind of annoying to connect, disconnect. We got as the completely by fortune, like by luck, that pump also, although I don't think any other fountain uses it, it has suction cups on the bottom. And those suction cups came in really handy for us because we don't have a bracket, but it suctions right to the glass. So it's perfect. So it really fixes the whole thing in place, but it's just
Bracket
one
is
quick
hard to
hand
clean.
motion. The bracket is hard to clean. Exactly. Yeah. When bracket's hard to clean, it's annoying to disconnect the fountain from it every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pump from it every time.
Well, I'm putting at least 3 of them on my Christmas list. I'm just saying. Anybody that's listening, that is
I appreciate that.
S- so in terms of the future, are you working on any new products or anything in the pipeline that are there eight more 3D printers humming somewhere right now, working on the next big thing?
Well, there's always something. I mean, it's like asking the Pentagon or DARPA, what's next? I mean, something's always next, right? Um, yeah.
Do we have to sign NDAs now?
This is past idea. This is like if I tell you I have to kill you kind of thing.
This
No, I
has been
mean,
the last episode of the Shelter Cats podcast.
no, I mean, yeah, the 3D printer is actually always humming with different things. Right now, really, most of the focus is on Brook because it is growing. And it's funny, like it took 15 years to get Cat Amazing to where it is. Brook was launched like from idea to launch was 6 months,
Wow.
which is like, I mean, if you consider
wow.
like the first puzzle was like, it took probably about 4 years, 3, 4 years from like idea to like cardboard box basically with holes in it. So this is even the one a couple years. It's interesting, like yeah, how like experience accumulates and you guys don't make the same mistakes over and over again. So yeah, so it launched like about a year and a half, year and change ago. When it first launched, we had a couple of features. Like everybody loved the fountain, really. They did want a couple of features. They wanted to be able to control the flow rate, so it was a bit intense for some of the cats. So we added like that functionality. They wanted to be able to control the light on the pump. So that pump has like an integrated light you can't turn off. So we came up with a way of like covering that light with like a food grade silicone cover. And now, so everyone loves it, but people are asking for sort of more features. So they want to be able to like have a cover that protects them from the dust, any kind of debris that can fall in. Like you said, like some cats like to bathe in there. But at the same time, like one of the advantages of an open fountain is that if there's power ever goes out, they have access to the water, and that's a critical safety feature. A lot of fountains like don't have that where the water kind of goes inside. So we're trying to come up with a solution that gives you both. Which is tricky. It gives cats access to the water in an emergency, or even dogs. Because dogs use this as well, but protects from the dust. Customers asking for like a spout attachment for the water drops. Some of the cats prefer that, so we're working on something to solve that. The fountains
Would you
also
ever
is. Go
would
ahead.
you ever, one of the newest things in cat fountains are wireless fountains. They're battery powered, they're motion sensitive. The cat walks up to them and it starts the pump. Is that under consideration?
Yeah, so that's something actually like I looked at it, something I looked into, and we're probably going to be doing like a video series, maybe even some posts talking about sort of the big downsides of that. In some sense, like it's kind of a bit of a scam product, in my opinion. Primarily because one of the biggest advantages of a cat fountain is that the water is continually circulating. That's actually what's keeping the water
Uh,
clean. That's what's aerating the water, and that's what's disrupting the growth of bacteria. So if you have a fountain, like the only way to have a wireless fountain with any kind of battery life, because they advertise like we'll have 3 week battery life, 1 month battery life. Actually, I thought about this, like how is that possible? When I first was like, that's crazy. What kind of battery are they using? This is insane. Um, and I realized that the way they're doing that is actually by not circulating the water 99.9% of the time. It's just still water with a motion sensor. So when the cat walks up, it runs the water, which has certain advantage. I mean, it's nice to have the water running because I guess it encourages them to drink as they walk by. But the all the other advantages of having a fountain you don't get, which is that the continuous water circulation. So what we generally advise is if you do, definitely you don't want to have that, like, lose that advantage of having the water continuously circulating. If there's an area where you have no outlet, you can plug it into a power bank. Just get a portable power bank and plug it in. That's actually what I'm doing right now. One of our cats is sick, and he's kind of like staying in this one area that he likes where his bed is, which is like not adjacent to a fountain or not adjacent to a power outlet. So I just took this fountain, just moved it right nearby him, and plugged it into a power bank. And the advantage there is like you have the full flow without interruption. And if you there's other kind of sort of like secondary, I guess, benefits of that, which is if the battery ever goes out on you, the battery breaks, as these batteries tend to. You can just swap it out without having to replace the whole unit, because a lot of, every other one's like the battery's integrated with the whole unit. It goes, the whole thing goes. Yeah, I think the most important thing is that the water keep moving. That's really the key thing, especially like in an outside situation where like a leaf will fall in there, and like the algae bloom will happen like within hours. Um, so you really want to have something just moving the water. If you have a large amount of cats, yeah, you can get into an aquarium pump, something a little bit more, with a little bit more oomph. Um, it'll cost next to nothing. I mean, you're not looking for like something like easy like the aesthetic probably as you would be in the home. So even like a basin with like, or even a large like salad bowl, like a glass salad bowl with like a pump just moving the water inside. Yeah, it'd make a huge difference. And they could also be powered, like you said, from a portable power bank of any kind.
Dan, would this be a reasonable time for you to make that announcement?
Yes, I was going to. We have a promo code which we're going to flash on the screen. This episode will be in early January. So for January, we will have a promo code for Andre, how much off?
Oh, the 10% off, yeah,
We
for
have
the shelter
10%
cats.
off on we'll have the promo code, we'll have it flashing on the screen, we'll have it in the podcast description. So go to the podcast description or just look under me on the screen and you'll see a promo code for 10% off on Cat Amazing. The last question.
Thanks a lot.
If
The
Mookie,
envelopes with the kickbacks are coming, guys.
you heard it. I'm not editing that part out. So this all really started because is your cat?
Mookie
Because
was our cat. Yeah, he's passed away a few years
I'm
ago.
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank
So
you.
this all Cat Amazing started because Mookie was ingenious with
Mhm.
interacting. So where would you be now if Mookie had just done something else that day?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Like, I mean, I always say like Mookie's the brain. I'm just like the opposable thumbs making it happen. Who knows where life would have gone? Honestly, it's like it all. Anytime you go, anytime you look back and there's any even the minor difference, it's like the butterfly effect. You can go in any different direction. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I could have easily just had some continue my career in tech with no side project. Side project could have been something completely entirely different in another field, or yeah, it's hard to say. Who knows? But I'm definitely very glad. It kind of turned out the way it did. I remember talking to my wife at a certain point. I was like kind of starting off on trying to do this full time. I left my career and actually try to do this full time. Back then, I still had just the first product. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I, what am I doing with my life making cat toys? And she said something like, well, like, like what better thing is there? Like, what else is there? I mean, you kind of like, yeah, of all the things you could do, like, this is kind of like something that brings people and their pets together. It's kind of like a wholesome, positive thing. Um, and I kind of thought about it, and I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, what other industry, what other space, like, some of them are better, some of them are good, some of them are not so good. But as far as, if you were to kind of throw a dart at the wall and hit this one, like, you'd probably like, yeah, this is just pretty overall positive. So I'm glad it turned out this way.
Well, we're grateful to Mookie. How can people find Cat Amazing and Brook Fountain? Plug your websites.
Sure. So yeah, it's the websites are what they sound like. So it's catamazing.com for Cat Amazing, and brookfountains.com for Brook. Or if you just search for glass cat fountain, we're the first one that comes up. Yeah, the knockoffs are fast on our heels, but we're still the first, the top result. So
And
Nice.
available on Amazon and Chewy as well,
Amazon,
right?
Yeah, for Cat Amazing, Amazon, Chewy, our website. For Brook, just Amazon and the Brook website for now. We're talking to Chewy, so hoping to work it out with them.
Wonderful. Andrey Grigoryev from Cat Amazing and Brook Fountains. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. This has been episode 72 of the Shelter Cats podcast. Go to our website, sheltercatspod.com. Buy our merch, proudly display our merch with our logo and our Adopt Don't Shop logo. If you have a cat behavior issue with your cats, here's where Stephen gets very happy. If you have a cat behavior issue with your cats, and you'd like to book Stephen's services as our cat behavior expert, go to catbehaviorhelp.com. He has a very thorough questionnaire to fill out, and Stephen will take it from there. So he's been very helpful with me for that. So please go to catbehaviorhelp.com, sheltercatspodcast.com, catamazing.com. Just go to all those websites right now, open all the tabs, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Take care.
I used to hate cats, used to be dogs all the way, till a cat came along, changed my tune. Now I say I prefer cats to people, and cats seem to prefer me too.